Peace. Welcome to Walking. What's going on behalf of Game Face Growing Farms? I would love to introduce my brother, my partner, Akil Bay, and also the president and founder of Atlansterdam Cannabis. So, what's going on, bro?
Not much, man. A little comedic moment for the audience.
Nah,
Yeah,
that shit was funny. My computer.
and you know me by various names from the cannabis trade. Then so be it. We know what it is. But yeah, I have a pretty long history in the cannabis region, or realm. Started back in high school, in the mid '90s. Uh, I was on my high school debate team, and there were only two other people that looked like me on the debate team. And if you could kind of understand what that world was about, it was a lot of preps. And we did indulge in marijuana cigarettes from time to time. And the white boys that were on the team that wanted to get, weed didn't really have an outlet for it necessarily. So I thought. So they would always, give me their money at the end of the week or at the beginning of the week. I'm sorry, because we were usually on tournaments on the weekend. But at the beginning of the week, they would give me, their money. Everybody would piece up. On Monday, Tuesday, I would go to the hood and grab bags, and that would be it. So being it's American culture. I mean, for people to act as if this doesn't go on even in present time, it just is what it is. But being a 14, 15, and 16-year-old kid, going about pot, it was just the thing to do. At least we weren't drinking. And so yeah, I spent probably a good year doing that, and come to find out, one of my new debate partners, when I got recruited to a different high school to come debate for them, um, his brother was actually the plug, and his brother ended up graduating high school and going to school at Georgia Tech here in Atlanta, and his brother's roommate was into botanical sciences. Come to find out, he tricked his parents to send him to Georgia Tech to study botanical sciences to learn how to grow weed. And they lived in a modest house uh, in an area of Atlanta that they call West Midtown now. And the entire basement was devoted to a hydroponic grow, which was just absolutely amazing to me. Just
My
seeing,
house.
yeah, an entire basement of lights and PVC pipes. The plants really didn't do anything to me because I'm a country boy. I grew up on, in a rural area, and both of my grandparents farmed pretty much the vegetables that we ate. So, seeing plants didn't really fascinate me, but what fascinated me were, PVC pipes and nutrients and timers and humidifiers and dehumidifiers
The
and lights.
automation, the setup, the
Exactly.
ingenuity, yeah.
Yeah, that was
That's
pretty
work.
dope. And so, he's spending his time going to a major tech Ivy League, right? And learning how to grow weed for the most part. And they grew good dope. And so those two guys and my debate partner, who is a brother to one of those guys, and I'm specifically not naming names to protect the innocent, because they went on to become, multimillionaires by bankrolling their future careers from the cannabis trade, uh, which no one should have a problem with. That's capitalism in the American story. Uh, but as we were embarking down this journey of understanding cannabis and bud structure and nutrients and indoor grows, you know, in some of those dealings, we started to hear about, cheap mid prices from Arizona. And so those two guys put me and the brother on the road as 16-year-olds or 17-year-olds, I can't remember exactly, to drive out to Arizona to act as college kids going on a college visit to buy several hundred pounds of mid throughout, my 10th grade, rising junior summer, right? So we made several trips out to Arizona to pick up, some Arizona popcorn mid. That's what we called it then. And then at the end of the day, uh, beyond them figuring out how to grow hydroponically, they were still in their hit and miss failure stage. Herman plants and
Mm,
seeding plants when they were just trying to get it figured out.
I know that
These
stage. If you
these
don't
mids
grow,
come
you don't know that stage.
exactly, and these mids come in from Arizona I mean, they were the business, bro. I mean, when you smoking Mexican dirt weed for Michoacan, and 50 Mexicans, standing on press board to make the brick weed, the Mexican brick weed, you probably don't know anything about that. Anybody watching this probably don't.
I know
You know,
about the bricks. I'm from the
yeah.
D.
So,
I haven't seen a couple bells get bust down.
mhm. So yeah, when you've been smoking that your entire life, and then you see this fresh, non-compressed trash bags full of this mid that was hyper light green, you're like, yo, this is the business. And so we started bringing that back, and then so that summer led us into our debate season. It got me into a little trouble. And shout out to my debate coach for not really turning that into something that it didn't need to be. And we were found out. But during the year when we went to tournaments at Bronx Science and Harvard and Columbia University, Stanford, different places, like me and my debate partner kind of became the go-to guys to if you needed to know where the weed was, then we had it. And neither here nor there, we started to hear about this place that's on my shirt, Humboldt, right?
Mm.
And so we stacked our bread throughout the year and drove out to Humboldt the following summer. And that's really where it really all
So
started.
around this
You know,
time, you like 18,
17,
17.
17.
You
So it's
17 in the Humboldt?
yeah. So I'm 17. The summer, yeah, the summer that I'm turning 18 is when I go out to Humboldt, and it was pretty cool. You know, I was living with my grandmother at the time. I told her that I was going to debate camp. Told my parents I was going to debate camp. Which we enrolled in debate camp and stayed for a couple of days, but yeah, we got the fuck on and went to went to Humboldt. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, that was
Niggas was-
wild. That
It was
story in
money
itself.
on the flow.
Yeah. We just need this. We needed to see what was popping and how all of that went. So we met a few hippies that were going out, and so did not understanding, the opportunity that we actually placed ourselves in, and understanding the Northern California grow season. Uh, and we'll get into this later.
Mm.
Northern California is what we like to call sun grown. You know, uh, it's been obliterated and bullied in the cannabis community on
Outdoor. What we
certain
call
levels as
outdoor, right?
outdoor. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't like using that term,
I for
but
sure want to get to the outdoor indoor depth
yeah,
conversation
we're gonna get
because
to
like,
that.
yeah, it's ugh. I'm about to
Yeah,
say
we're
if
gonna
you
get
get in my field, it's that's a real irritating conversation.
exactly right. So we're not understanding the brilliance of just being placed on the planet at the time that we were. So we're in the middle of sun grown season in Humboldt when we reached there. So I would say like mid July. So this is before all of the hype and ruckus kind of starts. Tremors start to show up sometime around August, late August. Going into September, getting ready for harvest, late September, October, area, so, but the people that were, staunch growers,
Croptober for anybody that's Croptober season. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, so we get out there in mid July, and so we're meeting a few hippies and staying on their farms and, doing the whole vegan thing and hacky sacks and, having a cool time, smoking some good dope and really learning about what's going on. And that's when the plants start to fascinate me then, right? Excuse me. So this is 2 years after seeing indoor grows, and those brothers down in Atlanta really got their shit together and started putting together some pretty nice bud. But to come to Humboldt and see, the science behind sun grown and outdoor organic farms really, it triggered something in me. Um, I became in love with the plant at that point, right? And so that's when I actually fell in love with the plant when
You
I
go
got to Humboldt.
from this to this. I'm like, why
Yeah,
wouldn't you love this?
yeah,
I didn't
exactly.
see
So
the
seeing,
plant big as houses, bro. That shit crazy.
yeah, well, all of this, centered on laws and legalization. So when I call them Mendo bushes, right?
Yeah, I'm about to
So
say
there,
you.
there were plant capacities, right? So whether it was the time that it was 25 or 99 plants and you had patients, the reason that, plants were growing to such a size was to accommodate the legalese to not get busted, right? So they could grow as much from a poundage standpoint as possible, right? So you see these huge, enormous trees and that are weed, and then that fascinated me to be in the middle of the redwood forest on the side of a mountain, completely secluded. You know, when it's nighttime, you see all of the stars, the Milky Way, all of that, and you wake up in the morning and against the redwoods, you're standing in, 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot cannabis plants, right? That are probably 6 to 7 meters in diameter or even bigger. It's crazy how big the plants are, and that's when I fell in love with it, right? So I wanted to figure out how to do that. And it didn't necessarily start then. Like, so I came back the following summer and, learned some growing techniques. And then the summer after then, so, when I'm turning 19, when I'm turning 20, right? So this is 3 summers after my first time in Humboldt. I had a kid on the way, right? And so things had to change. I had a day job in tech. And I think the enormity of being a young parent, uh, me and her mother like really wanted to understand what economics were going to be, right? And so we just both agreed to, uh, parlay my tech salary into, the cannabis trade. And at that point, I became the infamous middleman dealer between, Humboldt crops and Humboldt, products, as many people did, to get it, to the East Coast. Right. So I exploited the relationships that I was able to build, for the 3 summers that I was actually able to go out and meeting farmers, not only in Humboldt, but also in northern Mendocino, in central Mendocino. Not necessarily Trinity. I didn't spend a lot of time in Trinity County. I knew a couple of people there, but mainly in southern Humboldt, northern Mendocino were my connections. And great farms, great farmers, people really interested in um, sun grown, organic, non GMO, non pesticide sprayed cannabis and a quality product. And then, even more so than that, interested in terpene profiles uh,
Terps,
and
Terpanese.
yeah,
Smoking mimosa Skittles, but I'm tasting some kind of guava tangy, sour bananji tangy, guava dog, diesel. Whole lot of terp shit. It's not that terp shit. Terp motivation, terp elevation, champagne, cut a cane, terped up, on the scene, keeping it Krispy Kreme. Purple Hindu Kush from the Purple Hindu Valley. San Francisco doing terps in the club. Torch up, yeah, hypey die movement. These kids go crazy for candy out here, I don't speak English, I speak Terpanese. What's your name, bro? Young Terps. It was a terpy day. Psychoactive, terpy active. Bananji, tempered, lemon, tangy, guava down. Oh, terp wave. Back to the terp tropics. Oh, we got some right here. Glowies for Kobe. Glowies for Kobe. The terpenines and the tanzanites and, the cannabis communities bring the community back together. 5-pound runs, 60 mils. Terps is what it is. It's all town business like terp swaps. You know what it is.
Is anything not a terp?
No.
and then really understanding cannabinoids from a so I think California was was brilliant in their idiocy by first legalizing medical, because it caused the community to become more aware of the medicinal properties of the plant when these legislations started to happen, right? And people really became concerned with, the cleanliness of the product, the power of the product, and then really, so what we see on a pop culture / street level strain focus or strain industry wasn't necessarily for flavor profiles, or how should I say this?
It wasn't always about
For stone profiles either, right? So how
it
high it
wasn't
could get.
always about the brand. It was more about what the product can do for you initially.
Exactly. So I would say, mid to late 90s into the mid 2000s, there was a more honest approach to strains uh, and their medicinal value and the integrity of the plant, more so than what type of high it could produce or what type of terp profile it could produce. And I was really excited about that. And it gets later into the story of how me spending 15, close to 15, 18 years, no, 15 to 17 years in the middleman trade of cannabis between Northern California, also Arizona, early in my career, to the East Coast, specifically Atlanta, but not just Atlanta, North Carolina, the DMV region, and also New York later on. And the thing that was most impactful for me about learning about the integrity of the plant and the strains later impacted my life, because there was a lot of pushback, turmoil in my family. At some point, I went full on slinging pounds, right, just because the money was lucrative. Made sense to me. I don't necessarily have the same ideological aversions that people do when it comes to quote laws as it relates to nature, right? So outlaw cannabis, me participating in outlaw cannabis had nothing to do with fuck the man or evading taxes or anything like that.
It's
It's a
just a
plant.
plant.
It's a plant, and you can't legislate nature, right? You can enforce it with violence, but at the end of the day, these draconian, decrepit laws that they attempt to write and control, THC levels, CBD, or any cannabinoid level, for that sake, that they attempt to try to control that via legislation and say what a grower can participate in versus what is realistic. Um, all of that shit was all of that shit was funny to me.
It's goofy. In reality, it really is. And I feel for people who fall into those, minuscule, regulations or, foot on neck type situations. Because that's all it really is somebody just saying they can control you and what you do. And like for us, this is something that our family's been dealing with like for generations, like ancient. We got records of us operating and utilizing these plants in trade. So thankfully we don't fall underneath those particular guidelines.
So
Thankfully, I would be so upset.
yeah, so fighting back and forth with my family and the perception of being an outlaw, um, it became a full and present battle between me and my family members, and even involved with some of my children. Uh, Ended up losing custody of my children, and my cannabis lifestyle was brought front and center into the paperwork of the custody battle. There was even a picture of a little dime bag of weed brought into court, I guess to kind of simulate, this was his dime bag of weed. And I'm like, really? 600 pounds sitting in a storage house on the family land, like you never even knew about it, and y'all trying to bring it, out me about a dime bag of weed. But neither here nor there. It was what it was. Yeah. It was what it was, and you can't necessarily stun on somebody in a court setting like, nah, this ain't it, or this is not what happened. But even those things never deterred me from, I guess, my love for cannabis. I don't know how that made people feel. I don't necessarily care, other than maybe my children. I don't know that they necessarily expressed anything towards me directly, um, that was a problem for them. I think they've always known for most of their life, especially after those events. But anyway, carry on. And, life became valuable with my experience in cannabis. Later, my father contracting small cell carcinoma. And I'll never forget the day my mother called me, and she was in tears, and she talked about finding some medicine that my father was taking, these pills, and that he was very lethargic and he wasn't in his right mind. And she was in a panic, and I just asked her to um, send me the name of the drug, let me Google it. And when I did, it happened to be a pill-based chemotherapy for bladder cancer that my father had been taking. And she made me aware that he had a doctor's appointment at the VA in Atlanta, coming up 2 days later. And she asked me to show up to the appointment, and which I did. I literally walked into the oncology department, into his room where the doctor was, and sat down. To his surprise and also relief, because he had been holding the fact that he had bladder cancer for, maybe 9 months. And he didn't know how he was going to reveal it to anybody. And so he and I made a gentleman's agreement. And we weren't on the best terms at the time, too, socially. But we made an agreement that I wasn't going to reveal any of that information, and to give him time to process how he wanted to let the family know. And then he got together and had a meeting and said this, and so. And then he asked me if I would be present in his appointments and, be his caregiver, which I didn't have a problem with. And so at some point, the cancer was determined to not be bladder cancer, but to be small cell carcinoma from the lungs, and that it had spread to the bladder because of a radiologist who is an intern misplaced the plate to do an inspection of just the lungs in general, because my dad was having a lot of mucus and coughing up a lot of mucus, and they wanted to rule out maybe congestive heart failure or maybe a lung infection or something like that. And so they misplaced the plate on the chest, and it brought the x-ray back that there was a development there, and he gets a PET scan and we see that it's a tumor. And then the doctors made it all make sense that you didn't have bladder cancer, you had lung cancer that spread to your bladder, and it could spread to your brain. And this is a deadly cancer, and only 5% of people survive from it. And of those 5% of the people who survive from it, 100% of those people usually only live, from 1 to 3 years. And to see that, and to see him get that diagnosis, and to see him immediately start to decline, probably from the mental portion of the weight of just hearing that, we went on a crazy journey, an amazing journey. And so about 6 months into his treatments, I remember he wasn't eating. And I remembered that, this is crazy. A lot of my family don't even know this. I remember that he wasn't eating, and I remember that, things weren't going well. So I had a conversation with my mother, and she was talking about, what we thought about cannabis and things of that nature. And, could that be something that could help, and he was in the hospital, and the palliative care doctor was there, and I kind of pulled him to the side, and I was like, what do you feel about cannabis and cannabis being used? And he said, in a professional capacity, I can't necessarily answer that, right? But he hit me up later on a social media site, Facebook, because we shared email and Facebook. and asked me to meet him. And so as we met, he said, professionally, I can't speak to that. But he said, from a personal standpoint and my research, I would 100% agree. We're just in a state that doesn't treat for that. What I can do is prescribe him Marinol, and I explained to him what my background was. And I said, I've got oils, I got RSO, I've got MCT oil infused. And, I don't know how the drug tests happen inside of the hospital and what you guys are able to see in the profile. I just didn't want to end up getting arrested if you did a drug test. Oh, yeah. How you liking that?
You see, I'm knocking it back. I'll be having stuff to do. I can't be walking around like that all day.
Yeah. So I said I don't know how it shows up in a blood test or how you guys monitor, your blood test. But if it showed up, I didn't want to end up arrested at the hospital. And so he was in the hospital 11 months, 9 days. I was there every single day but 3. And he said, yeah, that's not anything we really check for in a blood test. And he said, besides, I'm going to order the Marinol. So as they were waiting on the Marinol to be ordered, because it is cannabis and there are certain approval stages or whatever, I made a bottle similar to the one that you're holding now. And I really just started dripping it into, he wanted water and ice chips all the time. Right. He couldn't taste because his taste buds were damaged, from the radiation. So I just started dropping it in his water. And I just remember after about the second day, he woke up in the middle of the night and he was like, I'm hungry. I want a cheeseburger. And I was like, what? He said, I want you to go to McDonald's, go in my parents' pocket, get my wallet, and go to McDonald's and give me a cheeseburger. And I'm like, that's not the best thing. And I thought about it, and I said, I'm not going to argue with this man. He hadn't been eating in months, you know what I'm saying, on a feeding tube, all of that. So I walked to McDonald's, got the cheeseburger, brought it back. He ate it, and then he decided he wanted another one. So I went back to McDonald's and got another one, right? So cool. He started eating. And then we saw the incline into health, right? So the Marinol gets prescribed, right? And he left the hospital with Marinol. And so we got our dad back, and he lived a considerable amount of years after then, past the point that you could call remission, which is 5 years, right? And he did eventually end up passing away, but not from cancer-related things, So being able to see, it was kind of a conundrum for me, right? Because there was the dichotomy of, me being an outlaw to the entire family, not just my immediate family, and then the wealth of knowledge that was able to bring forth, the benefit, So that just kind of gave me a new focus in cannabis and trying to understand, like, how could I impact, people, right? So at that point, the outlaw version of that became more concentrated to now start producing RSO and MCT oil and infused coconut oil and butters and making those available to people in the Atlanta area who suffered from cancer. And I did that unbranded for years while I still was slamming pounds and running other businesses. It's not like I was just a drug dealer. Like, I run other businesses. I'm a developer, a coder, programmer by design.
You can't even say it's a drug dealer. It's because it's like the same as owning a nursery, fam. You just distributing plants. We got to classify it right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't feel like that at all. I'm just saying.
No, I know, but for the people, for the listening ears, we don't deal drugs. We own nurseries and we distribute plants.
Exactly. And not that I give a fuck about the listening ears and how they feel about it. But unless you want some of these oils, then
that's what I'm like. Yeah, I'm about to say you can get some of this botanist oils from our R&D facilities and stuff in our nurseries. Yeah, say it like that, because YouTube be bullshit.
Yeah,
they be tripping.
Yeah, so at some point, I was able to hone those skills and kind of get them together, and then my business partner, Major, decided that it was something that we should do, legitimately in the forefront in the public, which he's Jamaican. So you can put the story together from there, what our past has been about. It's crazy. That's how we met. we met in the cannabis trade in Atlanta in the 4-4 on Boulevard, which Young Jeezy made famous, in some of his raps. But yeah,
Yeah, I
I
remember
was living.
Fofo and the photo with him and Yo Got, yeah.
Yeah. So me and Major used to live in the 4-4 along with a lot of my other friends while we were, young. Major was at Morehouse. I was at the Art Institute. Shout out to Fury and Devon Houston and Nick Fury. And so we were all there trading cannabis, and Major and his family, they were the plugs at a particular time. But neither here nor there. Later, we became brothers, literally. He talks to my mother more. Like, he's more of a son to my mother than I am, so we became family. And at some point, in the not too distant future or past, I'm sorry, in the recent past, we decided that we wanted to kind of legitimate our cannabis trade and bring it to the forefront, because I have become, pretty. I became dope with these oils, and a lot of people were being helped out. So we flew out to Denver, made some manufacturing and pharmaceutical relationships to take the formulas that I was able to produce, and we released a line called Major Weed, right? And
Say it
Major
again.
Cannabis.
They chopped up on you. Say it one more time.
So we released
Say the name. It just cut out on the name. What's the name again?
Major. So MA
Okay.
for Major, and then JAH from Ja. So Major Weed, right? So Major Weed and the Major Cannabis Company. And so that's what we did. And we got everything bottled up and nicely packaged and, put it out on the market, and those things became successful. And so while I'm, still around Atlanta doing what I do, I run into these brothers in Atlanta that like were really doing their thing. They're still doing their thing. And they have a very interesting, unique concept. So I met this brother by the name of Stoner Brown, a good Trini youth, real big background in Atlanta on the cannabis scene. He has a collective called the Eastside Stoners, and he comes from a background in Brooklyn, real big cannabis background. And, he's kind of the guy in Atlanta. And I wasn't really moving on the Atlanta underground anymore. So just, being introduced to him through his aunt, right? Because we were working on vending machines to kind of put the oil products in and some pre-rolls in the vending machines. She's like, yo, you really got to get with my nephew. Like he's the dude, just like really the guy when it comes to like cannabis in Atlanta. And so, partner with those guys to, come up with some great ideas, him and D from Golden Grams. So the Golden Grams Collective in Atlanta is another huge collective that kind of moves around. So Golden Grams and Eastside Stoners were some people that I started running with, very recently. And the name Atlansterdam actually came from Stoner Brown, right? They had been trying to, put together a collective that, kind of represented Atlanta to its fullest. And, during the middle of COVID, we were trying to open up a CBD vape smokers lounge, right? And being that Atlanta was decriminalized, then we wanted to allow people who smoke to come to our lounge and just partake and have a consumption lounge, and we were putting that together. But the credit to the name Atlansterdam came from the Eastside Stoners and their collective. And we started working on some things. And so that brand gets created. And, I just started to run with it. And what Atlansterdam is becoming now is something a bit larger than what I even ever imagined, because we're talking ownership in farms in Humboldt and Mendocino, ownership in farms in Georgia, 63-acre farm that we're partner here in Georgia, growing collections, cultivation. We have strains. I mean, every day.
Feed bank. Hold
Yeah,
on.
I can't really show because of the background. But
No,
we
I'm
got,
saying just bring it closer to the camera.
all right, cool. So,
There you go. All right, you got to be in front of it.
yeah, we got seeds.
Okay, I see you. I see you.
Yeah, so we got seeds, we got strains, so we're popping seeds on a daily basis, and these are seeds that I've been able to collect, over the years, and we're about to get into the segue of indoor versus outdoor. But being around so many bags of weed, whether it's indoor or outdoor, you're not never gonna find a seed, dealing with 25 to 50 to 100 pounds of indoor. It's asinine to think that you're not gonna find 20 to 30 seeds, much less one, right?
I for sure have still had some seeds come out of indoor, but like when we do get into like the grower conversations, the ones that most of the public isn't aware of, just because either they don't grow, they don't understand what's being put into their product. Like when we talk about the fact that the GMO argument, things that produce seeds are natural, and then we have this indoor product that is being cultivated in the capacity to not even grow seeds, and versus like from we can produce better outdoor quality as far as, let's say, like TH terps taste and things like that, versus the things that's being genetically modified within a closed environment with an indoor component. Because I've smoked better outdoor cannabis than indoor cannabis before. And
I've seen better outdoor cannabis than people have seen than indoor before.
People smoking outdoor and they don't know it. Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that part. Hold on one second.
Because that's the real thing going on right now.
Let me text this person real quick. Oh, I just lost audio.
I can hear you.
So, with that being said, having better outdoor than indoor, and people smoking outdoor thinking that it's indoor, is definitely something prevalent and that has happened countless times. It might not be as prevalent these days.
I'm about to say, but how is it not? Because
let's say there were.
What's the burn rate? What's the burn rate on cannabis?
Hold on one second. I gotta readjust my audio. You're gonna have to edit this part out. I gotta readjust.
You good. What's that? 38. Let me know you good.
Say something.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
My screen is frozen. Yeah, all right.
All right, you can go. You ready?
Yeah. So people smoking outdoor thinking it's indoor is something that definitely happens. So from the mid '90s up until 2015, 2014, 2015.
I have a question, Ja. How are people thinking that they not smoking outdoor or depths? It's simple math. It's like the Super Bowl chicken wing conundrum. Where are they getting this chicken from? Everybody not smoking indoor, bro.
Hold on, you just fucked me up with that. So you mean that 10-piece I ate yesterday was Depps?
Hey, somebody in the lab whipping, bro. That's all I'm saying.
So let's just say this. Definitely from 99 to 2012, 2013, I have sat at the bottom of countless hills in Mendocino and Humboldt, waiting on hundreds of pounds of sun grown that you get the sack and like, oh yeah, these is indoor. These are 4,800. Now, let's be clear. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. Those are only certain farmers that can pull that off, because there are only certain farmers that are going to be diligent enough to kind of make that happen, right? So that's a small, close knit group of people that are doing sun grown on a level that you see a sack and you're like, okay, these are indoor quality. Now, that's Humboldt heritage. Let's be clear. So when them hippies went out there in the mid '60s, and got their business together, and then at some point decided to fly to the Indo-Kush region to find a comparable climate to seed, and bring forth a plant that was going to thrive in the Mendocino, Humboldt, and Trinity area. You know, that wasn't without resolve. Like, that was on purpose, right? And it was purposely done, and these techniques were crafted and perfected over years. And just like you have dynasties in any other industry, there are cannabis dynasties in Humboldt and Mendocino. And from those dynasties, you get outdoor grows um, that are tremendous. Now, I personally know and have friends that have been growing since 1978. So let's just do the math, right? This is year 2022. 1978 is when they started growing as late teenagers or in their early 20s, right? And these people are walking around in better shape and better health than people that I know that are in their 20s, because they're walking up and down mountains, walking up and down hills. They're eating quality food. That most of them are usually growing on their own, and they're growing quality organic cannabis, and they're using techniques that have been perfected since the mid 1960s, right? So with that being said, the hyperbole in the urban community when it comes to cannabis, and then the connoisseurship of great cannabis, and the mythology that gets put into the game for the ability to understand indoor versus outdoor, and being able to determine that based upon just at a glance, right? This is indoor, versus outdoor. I'm
But
I'm I'm
if
not
that,
I'm not really buying into that. Let me just say that.
yeah, I feel like we need an adjustment, because I feel like outdoor. I understand that because I've grown indoor before. I've grown hydro. I've grown indoor in soil. Because like I veg hydro, and then I transfer over in soil for my flower. That way I can push like a little bit longer, and maintain the nutrients in a different soil is way more forgiving than hydro. So that's the reason why I'll veg and hydro and then transfer over into that. So I know the things that it takes in order to growing indoor, adding the CO2, paying the light bills, having the water, changing the water, checking the pH in the water and in the plants on the drip. It's a lot. It's a
So
decent
you
amount of
mean
work.
that $10,000 to $15,000 per month power bill, and then Negroes out here talking about they getting pounds of indoor for $450? Miss me with that rap shit, yo.
Bro, that's why I'm like, I don't know who lying to these people, but nobody who is not financially feasible for anybody who is actually doing a real indoor grow, for them to break people down past a certain price point, they actually start hurting themselves, regardless of
Yeah,
how much.
the math don't be mathing. So like in the urban community, there's these fictitious. All right. So there's these fictitious prices that create these arbitrary price wars. So if you're boots on the ground in Northern California, um, you don't really necessarily understand it, right? So when I'm talking to, third generation seasoned growers, or even second generation seasoned growers that are still around and still in the game, when you're talking with these people, and they're trying to get a grasp on, all of the out of towners that show up in Ukiah, all of the out of towners that show up in Willits, all of the out of towners that are coming to Eureka, just to purchase in McKinleyville and these different holding cities or holding stations, base camps, for them to meet a middleman like myself to run up to a farm to bring them down some pounds, and they're coming back with these outrageous prices. One of those things is a lack of understanding, not of just the industry, but just the process in itself, right? And so there's a lot of mythology on the urban side of the weed market, which um, a lot of people will say when it comes to my to my weed sales, and I'm cooning, because I don't deal with a lot of black folks, in that arena, simply because they don't necessarily have the expertise or the patience for the products that I deal with, right? Necessarily, and I mean, to each his own. It is what it is. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and argue with a dude about 25 pounds that I know that is way more high quality than this quote indoor that he's
Yeah,
getting,
that's out on
and
the
I'm serving him at a particular price, and that I should be discounting my price, 50%, which it isn't even possible because it goes against my cost model, right?
well.
From the farmers
Let
that I'm trying to
let's
stay
let's talk
relevant to.
about that. Let's talk about that. Why is it that your outdoor will be questioned, but they won't question if it's
Oh, you
a
mean why
cookie
burner? Why
outdoor
burner
or
can
a
sell
jungle boy
outdoor?
outdoor?
Why burner can sell outdoor? Shout out to burner. Um,
I'm just saying
um,
they don't question if they got outdoor from burner, but they'll question outdoor from almost anybody else. I don't even believe
shout
they can
out,
tell the difference.
shout out to burner for pushing sun grown again. So that part, and shout out for burner for putting sun grown cookies on Appalachian Farms in Humboldt, and then bringing that back into the cookie store. So all of you weed enthusiasts, stoners, quote, quote, weed purists, if you are a fan of cookies, let's be 1000% sure that you have smoked some outdoor and you loved it and it got you high as fuck and you enjoyed it. And more so than the profile that you get from an indoor, what I enjoy about outdoor is that you don't get all of the hacking cough and all of that from, the nutrient profiles being chemicals placed in the water. But to answer your question, why do I get um, questioned on that? European hegemony. I guess I'm not as legitimate. You know what I'm saying, as a person. Uh, like Burner or somebody like that. But I mean, that's
I
not
just
something. Yeah, that's
that's
just
a
it.
that's a I believe I wouldn't say it's not you. It's people are brand whores, man. It's about what's on the bag, how is it coming, who name is associated with it. And I don't believe that even necessarily just fall on you because it's just like these motherfuckers, they want from out that way, it's Jungle Boys, it's the ones who dropped Pluto down in Atlanta, them people. In Michigan, we got the Turtle Pie and my people who made Rockwoods and stuff up there. Like people, the brand game has ruined cannabis.
So, like right now, I'm looking at my desk at this Berry Cherry Gorilla Glue 4 cross that I have, right? And shout out to the NFT project. I'll let somebody name it. So let's just say while we were hybridizing this and pheno hunting, this was sitting on a farm that I have a relationship with that like really took care of the babies and made them into beautiful teenagers. And so when we harvested it and brought it back in a depth, they were in a greenhouse. Depths just mean greenhouse. So they were depths, but I brought those pounds back. And the day that I got back, I got a call from some urban dudes who saw my Instagram because I think I posted myself at Hartsfield coming back in. And I was like, yo, what's the new pack? And so I took them a sample of this and showed it to them like it's on the way. And they're like, nah, man. Nah. That ain't it. And whatever. Right. And then so I was like, roll it up and smoke it, call me back. And so they called me back, stoned, right? Because what we have is, and I'm not gonna talk about what the lab work came back on that. I mean, you gotta You got to really jump into the Game Face Atlansterdam Discord to got to get into that talk, you know. But with the lab work, the COA was talking about. But yeah, so they called me back stoned and was like, "Yo, I'm trying to get some of that. Like, what's good? What's the ticket?" So when I gave him the ticket, they was like, "Nah, man, nah, man." So what I found out when in the urban community, somebody wants to buy, like, yo, man, that's some outdoor, not outdoor, but I mean that's depths. That's in the greenhouse. So yeah, I'm not buying that. And I'm like, well, how do you know that it's depths? It was depths. How do you know that it's depths? Yeah, man, I can just tell because it don't look like runts. Yeah, it don't look like runts because it's not runts, right? So long story medium, I hung up the phone with dude because he was high, and I don't like to have high conversations with people when I'm not high. We just don't wavelength. And so this 70-year-old white dude that I deal with that lives out in Kennesaw, Georgia, calls me. He was like, "Hey man, you back in town?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm actually headed to Longhorn to get a steak. So why don't you come eat with me? I'll buy you a steak. I ain't seen you in a minute." He's like, "All right, cool." He said, "I'm really calling you about some bud." Then I said, "All right, cool, bro. Just come eat a steak with me." So we go to Longhorn, sit down, and then we get in the car, and I bust the bag open at a sample. And he was like, "Yo," he was like, "This is why I fuck with you because you stay in Humboldt." He was like, "You don't see trees like this around here, man. Like this is the real shit, dog." Like he was like, "I be telling these dudes about you, man. Like, you know." And I said, "Yo, this is what we gonna do." I said, "I'm just gonna start giving you the bag and let you take them the bag, right?" So cool. I give him, about an ounce and a half. And that was just per se. We never did make the business deal that night. We just ate steak, kicked it. You know what I'm saying? Made him a whole bunch of gummies and shit that I had made him previously before I went to California. So I just gave him all his care package for his wife. And so like the next afternoon around 1:30, he's blowing my phone up. He's like, "Hey, bro, when is the pack getting here? Like I need 20 of those now." And I was like,
Ooh,
"Oh yeah, cool." And he was like, "I went to go see such and such." So he went to see the same dude, right? Remember I told you the dude called me,
bro, I
so
didn't
we
dealt
know
with
him to
them
kind
same stupid situations,
of.
bro. I hate that shit.
Yeah, and so I gave dude a 19 price, right? He came back to me and was like, "Yo, we got him for 28." I told him it was indoor. I know these are depths, man. Are these depths? I said, "Yeah, they depths." He was like, "Yeah, man." I told him 28, so he wants 20 at 28 right now. True story, bro. And
You
sometime
can,
in the future when we start doing more of these, I'm gonna bring my buddy on, the 70-year-old white dude. He's a character in itself. He has an amazing uh, cannabis story from the 70s and early 80s, being a Humboldt at that time and being a runner, and stuff like that. But I'll bring him on and I'll let him confirm the story. But it was just amazing to kind of see that, right? And so, me giving them a 19 just because I already know where their mind is at, and I can't really market to them the way that they needed to be marketed. I was just saying, "All right, cool. I'll catch the 19 because I'm still putting a pretty penny in my pocket, and it's cool. I just want to really get off these joints and see how they test in the city, right?" And so we were able to get off of all of them through the white dude. You know what I'm saying? Between 28 and 24, and yeah, that's the dichotomy of it. So they weren't running up to him. He whatever he said was law. And the thing about it was pretty dope, bro. It was some of the most prettiest dope that's crazy. And you know,
it
not to be in
looked
my
good,
bit,
and he still was stripping. Was it airy? Was it loose?
not at all. Very
It
compact
was
buds.
tight and dense.
Yeah, very dense, very compact, all of that. So
Man, that's because people new age crackheads, fam. That's all I keep on telling these motherfuckers,
but
bro.
let me just tell you this: indoor doesn't necessarily always yield to tight, dense buds. It depends. The bud structure is still determinant on the pheno, right? Now, a pheno that is light and airy uh, inside of a indoor grow might be more chunky than an outdoor or sun grown, right? Maybe, yeah, but it goes to pheno. Now, there if you're not sun growing properly, right, then you could have a less dense bud structure on things that should be very dense and nugged up. But these things are all anomalies, man. And just at the end of the day, I hope people understand that we're not dealing with people that don't know what they're doing,
Yeah,
including
and
ourselves.
that's what. So, in retrospect of the previous statements, like we're bringing utilities with all our projects, utilities with the cannabis. Like, this isn't just things to smoke to get high. This has a particular use case behind it. On top of the next portion we're about to segue into, which is going to be like the cannabis and crypto aspect, or just the blockchain integration with cannabis. But the point that people are growing clean cannabis, not trying to just dope you up, but also being able to provide things that can heal you. Because some people notice about me, I lost my biological father, like September of 20, yeah, September of 20, and he was only 48, and he had 3 different types of cancers. And these are things that we could have worked in order to prevent just by us having the proper, things in place.
Yeah, make sure you fast too when you get to your mid 40s, especially if you're a melanated black man. Make sure you go get prostates checked out. Make sure you go get colonoscopies. Make sure you fast and make sure you smoke a lot of dope.
Yeah, he did the last one, but he also was consuming alcohol, and us at for some of our genetics, that is not it.
Yeah.
So, and because us as type O blood types, not to segue off, but us as type O blood types, some things are inverse against our body. And one thing that I have never found in history is our body having inverse reactions to original clean sun grown cannabis.
Yeah. Um, I do want to say this when you get off of it. So there is a segment of our community. Let's just call it the urban community. The conscious community is real heavy on sun grown over um, indoor because they feel indoor when you say genetically modify, right? So just hybridization and feminization of plants, right?
As a
The
form of
reason, yeah, I mean, so of course you're genetically modifying, but there are no chemicals involved, right? There's no gene splicing uh, necessarily, um, but it's a form of control, right? Quality control, and our ancestors perfected those methodologies once we got into agrarian economies, right, or agrarian markets. Let's just say that, right. So when there was a need for mass food production, especially when it came in the realm of monocropping, then monocropping led to, um, the need to feminizing certain plants to quality control, right. Um, with that being said, um, most of the people that I know that do grow indoor, a lot of those indoor grows are not even hydroponic, right? A lot of those indoor grows are still cocoa or soil, in huge plants and pots. I'm more of a fan of growing in the ground, right, and dry farming, and allowing these people to, and when I say people, I'm talking about the plants, allowing these babies to do what they're naturally supposed to do. At the end of the day, we have to go back to the colloquial name of cannabis, which is weed. And that's exactly where it is. It's weed. You could take a couple of seeds and throw them out on the side of the highway, right? Come back in a year and you might have some pretty good dope. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't really need intervention, you know?
Mhm.
So it's about finding the right soil profiles that have the right nutrient and mineral bases, and finding you a good piece of ground, right, and understanding how to till the land and replenish the ground so that the nutrients can restore and remain, and you can
Even
produce good
right
cannabis.
there, that's one of the main reasons why we should be growing more cannabis outdoor, because it's a cover crop. It also reduces radiation,
Yep.
also cuts carbon output. We it should be more of a larger outdoor initiative on cannabis. And
So
And
when you get into
also,
the
indoor grows is for anybody who participates in that. It's increasing the carbon output.
exactly, I was just about to mention that when you get from a sustainability standpoint, right, and it's going to be a hard road to hoe when we get into this cannabis section, right? I mean, this crypto section of cannabis, but yeah, when you get into sustainability, at the end of the day, you want your plants in physical dirt, not even in pots. And if you do pots, I would prefer cloth pots, right?
The black cloth ones.
Yeah, or even the burlap, right? So,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, just put your plants or your clones directly into the dirt and let them do what they do. You know, it's not going to be a bad thing, and then you get to understand your environment and your region, right? So plants tell a story, and they actually talk to you, right? So you have to learn how to listen. I think that's the biggest part of cultivation that people don't get is, if you see leaves yellowing, if you see
Them
you know
curling over.
curling over, the green fading, you know, you got to understand what it is. Is it a pheno expression? Is it a lack of nutrients? Is the
Too
nutrient
much
profile off?
nutrients.
Water, all right? So browning, anything like that. You just have to learn how to listen to the plant. And the great thing is that all of us have supercomputers in our pocket, during those times. And instead of spending time on Clubhouse and Instagram, why don't you head over to a Google search and say, my weed plant is doing this, right? And then look at the pictures and the photos to see they exactly match what your plant is doing. And then go on some of these cultivator sites and see exactly what's going on with your plant. And then it's understanding. Shout out to the baby. What's up, Prince?
What's up,
and
man?
and yeah. So just understanding what your plant is doing, and getting that figured out.
Most definitely. Now I want to segue over into the crypto and cannabis aspects. What do you personally see for the integration of cannabis and cryptocurrency and even cannabis when it comes to NFTs? Is it without necessarily giving up too much sauce, but like how could how can we, like really put the gas on this type of integration because we are
Yeah.
working on some things ourselves.
So yeah, gas, perfect segue. Make sure you use Solana, not Ethereum. So kind of my thoughts are, yeah, Ethereum got too much gas.
You said no Ethereum.
But no, so kind of my thoughts from a genetic profile standpoint. I'm a fan of, so I want to put cannabis and the genetic profiles onto the blockchain, right? So that's something definitely that I want to do and participate in, right? And I think we find that without giving away the sauce, I think you and I have figured out a unique way to kind of express that. And the way that we put it on the blockchain and then offer it to the general public will be through an NFT offering, right? Meaning that, people that want to participate in what we're kind of putting together and what we're about to launch, they can take ownership in particular strains by participating in the NFT, right? And then that way we can start warehousing uh, seed banks and starting to preserve particular genetics, right? So there will be a one-to-one accounting for uh, seeds and a genetic profile that's represented on the blockchain. And that way we can kind of enshrine certain things that we love to participate in. So like I'm always a fan because I'm connected to certain people, in Humboldt and Mendocino that are seed savers and have created seed banks. Like I get some of these phone calls sometimes from people that say, "Hey, yo, we're bringing back like Orange Crush, or we're bringing back the original Irene or Granddaddy Perk," and they'll kind of bring those things back.
We need to run lists across because I got like some skunk ones and some land raisers and stuff. My elder be asking me for Skywalker, and it'd be
The
so hard.
Skywalker OG.
Yeah, he'd be so because he like it. He said it make him focus. So it'd be hard for me to come across that. And I just, yeah, I didn't even think about that. I for sure need to show you our list. And like I said, we got some types that's not even No apples here, baby. We got some that's not even labeled yet. So I for sure want to run that across.
So in the Skywalker OG, I can spin up some of those now. I got some of those seeds now. They'll be depths. Is he gonna have a problem with depths?
No, he prefer outdoor. He don't like none of this funny stuff. He just like quality. He old school. You know how old school people is. He just want good. He still want good bud, but no chemicals, organic.
Yeah, I can probably spin up some Skywalker OG and get them rocking, and let them know it's coming. The pack is on the way. But yeah, so you can check us out at Atlansterdam.xyz. The spelling of Atlansterdam is right behind me in the PTR, but it's Atlansterdam.xyz, and that's where you're going to see all of the crypto cannabis representation of the brand at, right? And just stay tuned in the next 48 hours. Between there and the Game Face Growing Farms Discord, you're about to see a lot of things start to pop in reference to that.
We got a couple drops. So 40. Are you planning on doing the genetic release within the next 48?
Yeah, too much sauce.
I'm just asking.
The pack is on the way. We get into that.
Just saying because I know we are going to start opening up membership, that way individuals can see storefront, and all pre-established Game Face Growing Farm members, all they have to do is just go grab their NFT off of their off Solana. So I'll make sure that everybody have access to that. And damn, y'all should have been first in place, because yesterday's price ain't today's price.
Yeah, yesterday's prices is not today's prices.
Yesterday's price is not today's price. Yesterday's price is not today's price.
So let me just go ahead and get into that. So in the next 48 to 72 hours, you're going to see a representation of about 8 strains that I've been holding on to, that I've been dying to release. I have no idea what I want the names to be, but we're going to spin those up 2023 season. So between now and these will be greenhouse, these will be sun grown, these will be grown in Humboldt on an Atlansterdam Game Face farm. And but I've been dying to kind of deal with these phenos, right, of what I have in the seed, and just go ahead and start cloning and see if I can start pheno hunting. So that's going to happen indoor between now and March.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, because like I said, we have some genetics that don't come from this particular landmass. Even like the flowering aspect, that was more so cultivated here. Like the manipulation of the plant, that more so happened in the Americas, to the point where it became more commercialized. But the original variation of the plant is originally come from Asia, and then the Moors, they grabbed it and they utilized it as merchants, and they brought it over into different variations of the Americas, Mexico, and even possibly some of the eastern tribes off the coast. So when we see how cannabis has changed, and we look at where it's about to go into the future, when we see these type of integrations, we understand what's important and how we are supposed to solidify ourselves in this particular realm. And like I said, I got some stuff that don't come from here, and thankfully we do have some contracts outside of the US to where we can cultivate in completely different climate situations. Like I live in South Florida, but we have other areas close to the equator, a little bit more south, to where we can
you can tell them we got Belize, we got Hawaii, we got Colombia. Yeah, so these are real contractual agreements in Belize and Colombia, and also Hawaii.
We'll make sure we post that stuff on the Discord so people can understand we're not capping. Y'all can see some of the agreements. But the Discord gonna be token gated. So if you're not a member, feel free. And Yeah, be on the lookout for the NFTs for, Atlansterdam and also Game Face Growing Farms, because those are going to be your access key in order for you to see what we have going on and for you to have access to our events, even to come, see some of the cannabis tours that we have established in different areas. So yeah, just don't miss it, because it's gonna be bad if you do.
Yeah, don't miss out.
So outside, is there anything that you want to close on? Like the last thing was anything that we were offering in particular. So outside, I believe that was about it.
Yeah, just expect this, this unique way that we're gonna start offering strains, right? It's gonna be pretty dope. So any of y'all in the gray market, you're gonna really love what we're gonna start bringing to the table. We're doing a merch drop, on the Atlansterdam side here pretty soon. So I would ask you guys to check back at the Atlansterdam.xyz and start checking for the exclusive merch drop. These are going to be limited editions, trucker hats, hoodies, t-shirts for the summer, right? Getting all that stuff put together with the logos. And there's a small treat in purchasing this limited edition um, merch, so something comes along with that. So yeah, just everybody who wants to be involved in the brand is going to be pretty dope. I'm actually editing together some video footage and making a small little trailer documentary based upon my life and times throughout the cannabis trade and being in and out of Humboldt. So I'll give you guys a minute and 30 seconds of footage just to kind of see what's going on. And we're working on a larger documentary to put out at the top of 2023. So
No, well, bro, I most definitely appreciate you coming on and your insight in this particular realm, and hopefully we can change the narrative and actually get people to stop smoking poison. So
yes, smoke good dope. And if you can't get good dope, hit up me and DJ. We can point you in the right direction.
Yeah, my little one is being so busy right now. Well, all right, bro. I appreciate you. I'm about to get back on daddy time. Peace.
All right, cool. Appreciate you, bro. Peace.